Okay, it's 6 o'clock on April 15th, 2025. I will call the monthly meeting of the Village Board of Trustees to order. Roll call.
Berto. Here. Carr.
Here.
Howson. Here. And then oncoming trustees, Kanako.
Here.
White. Here. And Bell.
Here.
Patrice Shampoo is excused.
Okay. On to welcome and oath of office for new village trustees.
So if Chad and Bridget, you don't mind, I can swear you in together. You would raise your right hand. Oh,
We understand.
do you, Chad Kanako and Bridget White, having been elected to the office of village trustee, swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of your ability?
I do, I will.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thanks, I do what I.
What do you do with Patrice then?
Patrice has already signed her oath at the office. This is more of a public demonstration, I guess.
So did I.
Yeah. So President Bell, would you like to be sworn in publicly?
Sure.
Do you, Nate Bell, having been elected to the office of village president, but swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you. Congratulations to you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Honoring the outgoing village trustees. So that is Allison Milner and Julia Roscoe.
Yes, they each have received a recognition for their service, a plaque to hang at their homes. And they did say that they enjoyed their time on the board and may be back.
Okay, approval of agenda. Anybody like to make a motion? We approve the agenda?
Make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Motion by Hart,
I'll second.
second by Kadanko. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Approval of the meeting minutes for March 25th. We'll do these separately. March 25th. Any additions, corrections?
Page 5, line 1. Consultants when the village went for an extended period without an administrator, I think it's supposed to read.
Okay.
And just to follow up, in light of all the current crazy, it says in the minutes that you would research the ex officio role and report back to the board. Is that still?
Yes, do you want me to address that now?
No.
Okay.
But you've done it, you're gonna let us know? Okay, thank you.
I had a very question about that too, Denise, so whether we would correct it in here or not, but because that was spoke at the meeting, that's what should be in the minutes. Okay. Motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
Motion by Berto,
Second.
second by Howson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. April 3rd, minutes. Any addition, deletion, subtractions? If not, a motion to approve would be in order.
So moved.
Thank you, Kurt. Motion by Hart,
Second.
second by Berto. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, comments, correspondence, concerns from the public. We do have some letters in the packet.
I would like to get an update from you, Nate, on what is going on with Paula Anschutz's home at the appropriate time.
Okay.
I have not driven past there lately. I think it's way, at this point in time, way beyond its completion date.
I agree.
Okay.
Is there anybody out in the public that like to speak? Nick?
I'd like to read a follow-up to Deborah Fitzgerald's article that she posted in the paper. I put Tasha Roz's resignation letter in there. I'm gonna take a guess. This is her exit interview here. or not respectful. Don't care if employees can attend meetings they schedule. Non-responsive trustees work terrible hours with no appreciation or respect from the board. Board members talk negatively about staff in the community. Trustees hostile to staff. I could go on. We spoke 3 weeks ago. Another closed session meeting with 2 people not sworn in to discuss the village administrator. While one of those people in the meeting is currently suing the entire board, naming Julie as the main person in the lawsuit. So ridiculous. It really is. I love where I live. I homeschool 6 children. Every week we do like 2 hours of local politics stuff. We go through the minutes, we talk about stuff. We started digging through. A couple of my daughters helped me find a bunch of this stuff. And they're 16 and 14, the 2 older ones. They can't believe this. They just can't believe that this is the village we live in. I love the place I live. I'm embarrassed at what's currently taking place in the village that I live. I really hope that the 2 new trustees read all this stuff and help some of the other trustees put an end to continuously trying to fire the village administrator. We've had 2 people quit in the last year that worked for the village just shy of 20 years and just shy of 10 years. You can't replace that. How do you replace 20 years if you're trying to fire your boss on top of it? So what do? I mean, I feel like the village can run without this board. I don't feel like the village can run without the employees in the administrative office. You read through the exit interview summaries, it's on and on and on about disrespect from the board. Please put an end to it. Treat your employees with respect. Retain your good employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Steve?
Yeah, a couple of comments. One is, I was emailed a bunch of stuff and I was looking through some things for that CDBG grant application. And one of them I thought the whole idea was for remodeling or renovating the village hall for the older building. But then in one of them, it talked about low income housing and something else. So is the grant application just for the renovation of the village hall, the money to be used for that, or is it to be used for, I guess, anything at large? I also had another comment too. In the minutes for the March 3rd Parks Committee meeting, they talk about the dig-in that occurred, the 2 Parks employees, where they took out the service in the post office. And apparently they were replacing a stop sign and doing an error sign. And I guess Julie had suggested that the village officials consider asking if college students would be willing to work on a project where all underground lines throughout the village are identified. I think it's important to point out that there is a state law that says before you dig in the ground, you're supposed to call Diggers Hotline and have the facilities located. The utility has 72 hours to do that. And then after that, if they hit something, the utility is responsible. But usually they're pretty good about that. And in this case here, I mean, you have the employee at danger of being killed or injured. You also have machinery that can be damaged because most things that strike an electrical cable on a dig-in, the bearings and everything get damaged from the current flowing through to try to get the ground. Not so much for the service, but certainly anything higher. Like you get up to 25,000 volts and basically the machinery is strapped on at that point. Everything's welded tight. You can't move it. And I'm concerned about the people that did this because they obviously didn't call Diggers Hotline, or if they did, they didn't pay any attention to it because the facility is marked. They're not supposed to machine dig within 18 inches of a marked facility. And when I was working, I had the maybe unfortunate job of going through 24 accident investigations where fatalities were involved. This is not funny. Some of these people I knew. And it's all the same thing. I was in a hurry. I assumed something. I didn't think. All kinds of reasons, but basically it comes down to just a dumb mistake and somebody paid for it yearly. I was also gonna mention too, that when you start talking about mapping all of the lines of the underground, all of the underground lines in the village. WPS and the phone company and Charter and all, I'm sure they already have that mapped out. The danger with doing that, some other communities have done that too, is that these things can get rapidly out of date. And then people just maybe out of human nature start relying on these things as gospel, and they don't call Digger's Hotline anymore. And then a new cable goes in and bingo, somebody digs into it. I would just suggest maybe it's a training issue or an attitude issue, but get these guys to start calling Digger's Hotline. We just had a case in southern Wisconsin where they were pounding in driveway identification signs for, you know, where they put the address on a sign by the end of the driveway. And the guy said, oh yeah, we didn't have to call Digger's Hotline, but we didn't hit anything. Well, it turns out they went and cut a service and they asked for a phone line. And then they went and managed to cut a 100 pair phone cable and a 600 pair phone cable in half too. But nobody knew about it because it took a while for the phone company to catch up with why everything was out. Cost them $14,000 to fix it. And this was like probably 15, 20 years ago. This is not funny stuff. Call Digger's Hotline, get these guys to responsible and pay attention to what they're doing.
Thank you, Steve.
Welcome.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Nancy?
Nancy Akerley from Sister Ray. I'd like to just say one thing about the CDBG grant application. I want to thank the board for being faithful to the public concern and the overwhelming public mandate to move ahead with making a community center out of our village hall again. You know, I know that any number of people appreciate that. Because I was involved with, you know, getting the petitions and stuff in the first place, people come up to me all the time and say, well, what's wrong with that? You know, are we moving ahead with that? And the possibility of this grant, I think, is just really exciting. So, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Everyone else? Okay. On to 7A. Ordinance resolution adopting public participation plan for the CDBG grant application.
Okay, so, the Village Hall Planning Task Force had a public hearing on the citizen public participation plan, and they did recommend approval of it to the board. I will just take a moment to just kind of address a comment that was
Yeah,
made
please.
because it is addressed, it is part of the participation plan. And that is CDBG has many programs, most are geared towards housing. But there are some for economic development, there are some for public facilities. The project or the grant we're pursuing is under the CDBG Public Facilities Program. But the CDBG laws still require us to talk about housing, let the public know there are programs out there and funding out there to help with housing. And that's why they put such a focus on it, and you see it repeatedly in the documents that we've been reviewing and that we'll continue to review tonight. So this plan basically talks about how we'll continue to engage the low and moderate income population in the process should the grant be awarded. It talks about during construction, we're going to have another public hearing to engage them. This is what the state requires. We as a village would do more. We would do press releases. We would try to get radio coverage and get more than what the plan actually requires. But this is the template that they give us to adopt for our village.
Okay. Please.
Before I say what I say, let me state that I am in favor of revamping the village hall into a useful, functional building. But I would like to bring attention to the entire village board. Some numbers, some financial numbers. For this year, our capital projects levy was $1,089,000. We have had a couple of finance meetings. And we have changed quite a bit over the next 5 years. It is being proposed, it's basically a draft at this point in time. It has not come to this board and most likely would not come until fall when we deal with the budget and the CIP. And so for 2026, what we're currently proposing in the capital projects levy is $1,185,529, which is a 9% increase over this year, which I don't think is good because I don't think that we will be able to find 9% to pull out of the budget elsewhere. So I still think that that number is high. In 2027, when we have put in the $500,000 of the village's share for the village hall with the possibility of having a $1 million grant. The capital projects levy is up to $1,368,000, which is a 15.5% increase over 2026. We cannot afford that. Unless you want the increase to go up 9% next year. And if finance continues to tweak it and gets it very much closer to where we were at this year, that means we're pushing something else out to 2027, which makes that even higher. And I don't know how we deal with that, with all of the commotion, with all of the discussion over the village's finances. I think this board and everybody should know that if we do these next 4 resolutions, what that means to our budget. We have seriously been talking about doing something with the village hall for the last 3 years. We have been talking about a new administration building and a new parks maintenance building for each about 20 years. So this rose to the top very quickly. And it was proposed that we deal with it. When the village hall task force was created, it was stated that one of their responsibilities was to raise the funds to remodel, which has not ever been addressed. And let alone fulfilled on other options. So I personally will be voting no on all 4 of these resolutions because of the financial impact moving forward. But that does not mean that I don't want to do the remodel at some point in time. But I don't think we can do it in 2027.
Thank you. I agree with both of your statements for improving it. And obviously with these numbers right now, where does it come from? I really wish we had this information in this packet before this meeting, and I think we have to start thinking about all this stuff on every decision based on how the public is and how much spending has been going on. I guess I don't know the time frame of when this has to be adopted. Like, obviously, we could shoot it down today. Could we wait 3 months and talk about it and see where would this money come from?
No, the deadline is.
The deadline is there.
There will be more grants in the future. I think as Julie stated, I think in her staff report, in here, that it has to be completed in 2027. I know that there has also been $25,000. I think we've already expended that with Bay Lake to write the grant because staff did not have time to write the grant. I don't know where they are in that process if we decided to not move forward. But there are grants for things all the time. And until the administration building was put on hold, so that task force can look at other options. Even though that has been budgeted and worked into our capital improvement plan, plus all the financing for it, which I talked about 2 or 3 months ago. So I won't go down that rabbit hole again.
I wanted a point of clarification, because I'm not sure if I'm correct about this, but in the packet for today's Village Hall Planning Task Force, which was also the time when we had the public notice about this, there was minutes from the task force meeting that took place on November 12th that needed to be approved. And in it, it states that Schmelzer explained the procedure for applying for a community development block grant to fund renovations at the Village Hall. This program is available to communities with more than 50% of its residents considered in the low or moderate income range. And Sister Bay now meets that criterion with more than 50% of residents at the poverty level. I know we've talked about this before, and having looked at the census, which I'm looking at right now, our poverty level is 25%. And having looked at a couple of other things, including the federal poverty level, I just wanted some clarification, because I'm worried not worried, but are we gonna meet the criteria? Because I don't think that 50% of our residents are at the poverty level. But these numbers are a moving target, because they do appear in a number of different, we hear it from Lakes. We hear it from in the plan we just saw. So could you just clarify that for us?
Sure. Now, the CDBG program requires 51% of the population to be considered low to moderate income.
Right,
And currently our low to moderate income population is at 59.6%. And you're right, our poverty rate is at 26%.
so saying 50% is that is incorrect? Okay, I just wanted to,
Yeah, I didn't write the minutes, or maybe I did, I don't know.
I don't know, were they
Um,
approved today?
Yes, they were. So it is, yeah, we're at 59.6% is low to moderate income. Poverty is at 26%, which was a 320% increase from the decade before. So in 2022, it was at 26%. And 10 years before, it was at 9%.
And I think from what I'm reading, in terms of poverty, 78% of children in Sister Bay that are under the age of 18 are in poverty, and that's what drives that number. Because we got a lot of young people that moved here because of our services. So if you broke it down demographically, it looks different. We can talk about this till cows come home, right? Data.
Well, scan,
But
obviously
nonetheless.
Medicare.
Scan is actually ready for this? Seniors 65 and over, 5%.
That's scan.
But to your point, Louise, we do qualify for this because.
Yeah, that was what I was,
That's
just wanted
relevant
to
to
make
this,
sure.
this item.
and also it's in the public record.
It's the first year that we've ever qualified for the CDBG programs.
Okay, just wanted some clarification. That's all.
Bridget?
Just general question. So if this grant is applied for, the matching funds part of it, so say they grant $2 million or whatever it is, the village has to match the 2 million for the project to go forward.
No, it's a 2 to 1, so there's a max of 1 million that they'll give you. And then so 2 to 1 means like, for example, if the project was $900,000 to do the project, we would have to come up with 300,000 and then they would give us 600,000. So if we would apply for the million, and let's say the project was 1.5 million, we could get the million from CDBG if awarded, and then the 500,000 would have to be our match.
Okay. But didn't somebody estimate, wasn't it like a $4.1 million estimate somewhere? That was applied for last time?
That was, okay, so that was under a pro grant,
Okay,
and that one required offices and computer labs and stuff, so that was.
that was way more expensive because of those things.
Right. This one, the initial estimate, and again, it hasn't gone out for bid. It hasn't even, been submitted to, a lot of times when you have final plans, you'll send it out to contractors and say, what do you think? You know, we know this isn't a final bid, but what do you think? We're not there yet on this one. Initially, about a month ago, before they had the plans in a draft format, they had initially thought it was gonna be a $1.1 million project. However, they added windows and some other things that pushed that price up, so we don't know where it's at right now. The grant is due on May 15th, and we would know by that date.
So they would need to submit official drawings with the grant application.
Right, and I have the progress set that I got this morning, but they're still working on them. So by the time they apply May 15th, we'll know, we'll have final plans. And then we'll also have a better idea what it's actually gonna cost.
Okay, so that $1 million that you were talking about, is what we would need to pay for this
500,000 is what we budgeted.
That's
in the SIP before.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, but it doesn't draw out of that million in capital improvements that you were just talking about?
No, it's the 500,000 that we have in the capital improvement plan for 2027. And we also have in 2026, $150,000 in there for engineering.
For the road? No,
No, this is still Village Hall.
for the village hall,
There's 150,000 for
right,
in
Correct.
in
Take-
26.
right, to add the electrical engineering and things of that.
Yes.
So we're still spending 660,000 or so if, on top of the million if we get it.
Right, and even if we get the million, that there's no guarantee that that million and the 500,000 that we're putting towards it,
Will be
or the
enough.
650,000 will even be enough. And then what do we do?
Keep in mind, a portion of that has to be paid by the marina. The shower, half of the addition off the back is to be paid for by the marina. Because it's restrooms and showers for the marina use, so that cuts down the actual cost of the project. That comes out of the CIP as well.
So we've got to
We
put,
don't know how much we would actually have to take out of the CIP. We have 500,000 in there for construction right now. We don't know if we would need the full 500,000.
Or more?
Well, we wouldn't, the max grant amount is $1 million.
Right.
They only do 2 to 1, so
Right, so. the
Doesn't mean
rest
we
of-
can't pay more as a village.
Right,
We
but
may
then
have to
the
pay
burden,
more.
right, but then the burden falls on us that we have not planned for, nor have we budgeted, because we do not have cost estimates at this time. And if we want our CIP over the next 2 years to go up 24.5%, that's this board's decision to make.
And this has to be submitted in May.
May 15th is the deadline.
Would they be able to get final drawings and an estimate before then?
They will,
So then can we vote on it at the next meeting when we know what it would actually cost?
we'd have to have a special meeting for it. Because our main meeting would be after the grant is due. The application is due.
Okay.
so there's a blank in here. What dollar amount would we fill that in as 500,000 at this
Well,
point?
500,000, what is in the CIP? So you're looking at resolution
Yeah.
010?
Should I hold and wait till we get to that one or?
No, if you're okay with it, we
Yeah,
can talk
okay.
about all of them together. That one, I left it blank because 500,000 is in the CIP, but I wasn't sure if that's the full amount the board would want in the resolution.
Okay. So if we did something less than that, it just would limit the application, how much a grant we can finish. If we put it 400,000, we could only apply for $800,000 in grant funding.
Or it requires the other part to be donations. The CDBG does say that you can include potential other sources. And I put in here Friends of the Village Hall fundraising campaign if needed.
So we could do something less than, okay.
Oh, I just going back to Denise's comment about the fundraising of the village hall, like, I don't remember those specific conversations. I think I was just leaving when that was happening. Can you comment on where, what and how, or is any of that happening?
It's not,
It's not.
because we have this other opportunity. Denise, that would be a great a great time, if we find out that the costs are above, that would be a good time to do some fundraising. And we certainly can do that.
Well, even if costs aren't up, unless the board wants a 15.5% increase in the CIP in 2027, that there still needs to be fundraising, whether costs go up or not. We can't afford this if you want to move forward, unless you want to tell the public that's what we're doing. As chair of finance, I feel pretty strong about it.
No, I think, the public has been very clear to me, things seem to be getting a little fast and loose around here, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I'm for this, right? Just as Denise said, but there's a lot of things to consider. With the administration building being paused, I think it's a good idea. I think we all know here, and you all know after going through your last budgeting and tax meetings, that we need more information about what our decisions today mean for us a year, 2 or 3 down the road. And I
That's why
think, I know, and I appreciate that, the last 15 years, you should have been more than that, just kidding. I'm just a joke, all of us, that's a joke.
It's a better chat.
Not everybody listens to me.
But I appreciate this, I said, thank you for doing that, because that's the information I wanna have right here. So I have to agree with Denise on this, I don't think I can vote for this stuff right now.
Is there somewhere in the middle of the road on this where we can allocate so much that we expect the Friends to come up with, and the village says we're gonna allocate so much, and that you're saying that Friends of Match would actually count towards the grant?
It does, yeah. CDBG does allow funding to come from other sources. You do need a commitment though. So they would have to commit to raising that money.
Julie, this grant, and I know the timing, right? And for whatever reason, you gotta bring this to us. I don't disagree with any of this, but I don't think it's ready for this yet, is my hunch. How often these grants come around?
So these come around once a year. When this one was announced, or when we became aware of it in late 24, the board at that time decided to apply for the grant. And so $25,000 was allocated to Bay Lake Regional Planning Commission to write the grant. And then another 25,000 was allocated to McMahon to draw the plans. And so that kind of started it. And now we're to the point, last month we adopted half of the ordinances and resolutions that we need to apply. And now this is the end, right? This is saying, yes, we're gonna commit it. Yes, we're gonna submit it. That's what today is about. So, yeah, I mean, as far as a middle ground, you could say the match of 500,000 because it's in the plan, and make it very clear that the Friends group is gonna have to come up with money. Or some fundraising if it is awarded, if it's even awarded. This is our first year applying for CDBG, so I think there's other communities that are probably more needy than we are. I don't know how we'll do because it is the first year we're eligible.
And it's only 10 million.
It's 10 million for all non-entitlement communities in the state.
Pretend world, say we apply for it, say we make, the Friends raise an X amount, and say none of that happens because we've been there before. Can we just deny it, and can we just decline it and without any penalty? And I'm not suggesting we do that, but is that something that, because obviously timing isn't on your side, or on anybody's side really with this.
I wish I had the manual in front of me, Chad. I think once you commit, once you submit the resolution, I think that we are committed.
We're bound to it, yeah, probably are.
So if we don't get it, or we don't pass this, structurally and everything else as it relates to this building, and I think we've talked about this on multiple occasions, it's in good shape. I know it's not in the shape you'd like it in, I understand that. But it's in good shape. There's nothing that structurally we have an issue. I know the basement, I understand that. And the bathrooms certainly could be better, but it's not like we're not in a state where we've got so much deferred maintenance that if we don't do something, then we're in trouble, right?
Correct. We have the Village Hall Planning Task Force has gotten rid of the asbestos.
Mhm.
They got rid of the old fuel tanks that were in there and put in a new furnace in there. So they have been maintaining it and trying to
Okay.
keep it up. That Eric went in and got rid of the water in the basement. The biggest issue is it's not ADA accessible.
Yeah.
And that limits the public's use of
It does.
the building
Is the elevator work?
sometimes.
I know,
It's a,
well aware.
it's a freight elevator, so
I
it's
know.
not meant for hauling people up.
I know, I just wondered if, because sometimes it didn't, okay.
And to, yeah, anyways, I'll leave it.
What if we, Denise?
So the drawings that we have paid McMahon to do is not for naught. I mean, we can use those in the future, correct?
Yeah.
And even with Bay Lake writing the grant, if we wanted to write a similar grant in the future, we could still use a lot of that information.
Correct.
So that wouldn't totally be wasted either.
Right, I'm not sure how long, I would think the architectural review, I'm sorry, the archaeological review would be valid. You know, some of those reviews, I don't know if there's an expiration on them. But you're correct, a lot of that data would still be valuable for the next application.
What would happen if we authorize a match of $300,000 and said the Friends have got to come up with 200,000? Is that just not a viable option? Does that have any chance of making sense?
Well, I think the risk is if we do that and the money doesn't show, we get this grant, then
Are we on hook for it?
we, you know, more than likely, we're committed to it.
I believe you're committed to it.
Okay.
Either that or you pull it, you're not gonna get it again. You know, meaning that,
Well, if we got this awarded and we didn't do it, that would certainly, I mean, Julie could speak to that.
They would
I mean, I
frown
think that
on
would
us
hurt
in
on
the future.
future
right,
applications.
yeah.
And perhaps even beyond this grant.
Now, on the bright side, they would have until 2027 to actually fundraise or come up with that money, those donations.
I thought it was complete the project by 2027. Did I read that wrong?
Right, so we put the construction would occur in 27, so it would have to be completed in 27.
And I guess I don't know the whole scope of this, but I know how long it takes to build things, and without a contractor committed, there's a really good chance we couldn't do that even if we wanted to. We said yes today, there's a really good chance that doesn't get done by the end of 27. I mean, we're already approaching midway through 25. I have too much experience knowing that nobody's things ever get done on time.
Yeah, so one of the good things with using, like an architecture or an engineering firm is they actually do construction management for us. So they put it out for bid, they, I shouldn't say they find the contractors, but people bid on it. And then they oversee the project to make sure it's completed on time.
But if it wouldn't be, we lose that grant. That can't be right. What's the
You
penalty?
would have to get an extension on it, I think.
And that's probably something they do easily.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I just know that they can give an extension. They don't like it because
Yeah.
that's money they could have given somebody else. But, correct, if there's an issue with contractors, let's say something happens and there's no contractors that bid on the project, I think we would have to go for an extension on it. We would have to have a valid reason.
Well, even if they bid it, it's a year and a half away. Am I
Well,
getting
we-
this wrong? Oh, no, and at 27. That's a whole nother, yeah, never mind. It's 2 years. Yeah, my bad.
End of
Yeah,
27.
2.5 years. Okay.
October of
Yeah,
Halloween at 27.
yeah, that I feel, my bad.
Kurt, any thoughts?
I don't wanna spend more money. I'm with Denise, man. I don't wanna raise the taxes in the next couple of years.
I mean, to be clear, it's likely gonna end up raising taxes, but you can also reprioritize. And I mean, I understand we've already reprioritized so many different times. But to Denise's point, yes, it's likely you would, but there's other ways around that. They just may not be palatable for other reasons. So. So we're still on the public participation plan here. Anybody like to make a motion?
I feel like it's really hard to vote on this without knowing what the number is. Like how much it will actually cost to construct.
Well, I mean, when we come up to the one where we actually have the matching funds, we would put in a dollar amount there. So we're guessing at that point, so you'd limit the exposure, but you're right, you don't know what the total project's gonna be.
Well, another way to look at it is to back into it and say we can only afford blah, blah, you know?
So what
I'm
if
not sure.
we approve it up to a certain point, and if they come back with the drawings and the estimates before this gets submitted and it exceeds that amount, then it doesn't go through? We would do that?
Well, we'd have to find out we'd have to deduct what the marina is gonna contribute, and if we still didn't have enough money, we'd have to cut stuff out of the project.
Or not submit the application?
Correct.
I think it's worth getting all that information and having a separate meeting on it, as much as I hate those. I mean, the timing, I don't feel comfortable voting yes to this with this limited information.
Yeah, if the board wanted to have a special meeting for it, we could.
We probably all have a special. Denise?
I hate special meetings also unless they are dire because they cost the village a little over $1,000 every time we have one.
So you agree with me?
No.
That this isn't worth it.
Oh, I said I was voting no on all 4 resolutions, so
I know, but with more information and a commitment from them on fundraising.
I think we need to pause it.
Yeah.
I think we need to wait a year. I think we need to get all the information that we can. I think that we need to have this board think about that this fall when we're looking at the CIP that the finance committee is proposing. See how the board feels about it, what we adopt as our budget, what the tax rate is moving forward, because it's a whole new process this year with the TIF. And how we're gonna work all those numbers. We won't know till fall where we sit.
I'll second that motion.
Motion was that.
Was there a motion?
I will make the motion. That's.
So I will say there's almost certainly gonna need to be a special meeting before May's meeting for a number of other reasons. So there is that possibility, I mean, like, that's gonna come up on 11.
I think I'm good with talking about it again, but I do think Denise brings a lot of good points up that we may not have enough information. I think the reason, even with the new board and having priorities on where the spending is gonna be is something that every one of you board members besides me and Bridget heard about, and we heard about it, and that's why we're here. So I think there has to be a better plan in place and what we're gonna spend on what and when. And this is in there for doing that, but where is it in a priority? Is it more important than other things? I think we have as a board have to figure that out before making decisions on spending money.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
So Denise, did you make a motion that Chad seconded?
I mean, I was waiting for somebody if they wanted to, because it's always better to vote
Sure.
for the motion to be in favor of,
Yeah. So anybody wants
the
to make a motion?
resolution, but I don't think I hear that. So I will make a motion to deny 7A resolution 2025-009.
Motion by Berto.
I'll second.
Second by Kadanto. This is opposing this, so the vote for this is to not support this. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we want to have much more discussion on B, C, or D, or do we just want to?
Can I just make a comment on that? You could consider adopting the public participation plan. You're saying how you're going to engage the public. And then the same thing with the committee, which is number 12, and then 10 and 11, I think are the ones that you would actually object to, which is committing the matching funds and submitting the application.
I think it's easier just to,
Do it all.
just not do any of it and readdress it at the time.
Are there
My
other things
opinion
that's
only.
gonna be relevant for?
Well, with the creating the CDBG Citizen Participation Committee, at least the committee is set up. So that if we apply in the future, it's set up and they can proceed with having the public hearing and everything
But
like
you
that.
do that, and if we don't make any decisions until maybe after the budget and the CIP are adopted this fall, you're appointing people that might not meet for 8 months from now and things could change. So that doesn't, I don't think that makes sense either, and setting up a committee that you know may not meet for that length of period of time. I understand what you're saying, but there's also
Yeah, it makes
opposite.
sense. It makes sense. As you're talking, I'm thinking, what do we do with the things we adopted last month as?
Sure.
But,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's confusing, and I think if I was chosen as a member, I'm not sure I'd want to be a member. Do you know what I mean? If it's, the path isn't clear. So that makes sense.
Okay. So then, B, so we'll make a motion on that.
Or do we just not, if there's no motion for
We just let this,
B, C, and D?
yeah,
I think you need a motion to say not proceeding with it because you've done so many other things already.
You can't do a blanket motion, right?
You could.
I'll make a motion to deny 7B, C, and D resolutions 10, 11, and 12.
Roberto,
Second.
second by Camacho, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, on to discussion items. 8A, set board of review training date.
Okay, so hopefully you all looked at your calendars. At least one member of the Board of Trustees has to be trained prior to our Board of Review meeting, which is on June 9th, 2025. For those of you who are new, if you could take a look and see if that date is available for you. The video for the training is here. It's about 45 minutes long. And there's a booklet that goes with it. So all of the notes are here. We could conduct the training here at the fire station, put it up on the screen and have everyone watch it as a group if you would like, or those of you who are willing to take the training. I need at least one. One
Does it
person
have to
take
be
the
June
training.
9th?
The Board of Review is what the appraiser had asked us to set.
That's the meeting. not-
Okay, that's the meeting. This can be done
But
whenever,
this has to be done prior to.
prior to
June.
June 9th.
Yep, so
Did you say it takes 45 minutes?
The video is 45 minutes, yeah. And there's a test, but it's self-scored, so all the answers are in here. It really goes through and demonstrates how a meeting should be conducted. That's what the video is.
Is there a possibility that we as a board, as a whole, next month could meet at 5, do it and be done with it?
As part of the meeting, if that's how you would like to do it, sure.
Great idea.
You want to have the meeting start at 5?
And we'll do that. And then,
Does it have to be a meeting for us to do that?
But you can actually watch that individually too.
Right. Yeah,
Which
I
I've
watched the
done in the
video.
past.
I took it
It's-
separately.
So it's a lovely one by the University Extension.
It's brand new this year.
Yeah, you would just watch it now.
okay,
Just, yeah.
Can we zoom in for the Board of Review on June?
Board of Review will be held at the Village Hall, so Zooming wouldn't be very difficult. But not everyone is required to attend Board of Review. It's nice if, you know, that we have a full board there. By rights, we only need 2 members to have a Board of Review. So that doesn't mean all of you can say, oh, I'm not available.
I'll attend, that's not a
My
problem.
friend's
but I think I did
birthday,
training last
50th
year.
is June 10th in Seattle, and I already have the flight booked. I didn't know board review. I knew it wasn't the third
Yeah.
Tuesday, so I won't be here.
So if you are not interested in a group session on the training, I will see if maybe I can post it on the village's website somewhere. As a link, then there is a affidavit at the beginning of the handbook. I can email this out to you. That would need to be signed and submitted to me prior to that June 9th meeting, because I have to report it to the state. So. There's also a note on the staff report that I put in there, starting next month. I did subscribe to the local government basics, which is offered by the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. It's online training at your own pace. Available to municipalities that covers a variety of topics that may be of interest to boards. So once I get those details on the login information, which should be coming the first of next month, I will share that with you as well. That's just a little FYI.
Thank you, Heidi. The current license request.
So other than Chad and Bridget, you can't make it either?
We will be gone. I didn't know about that until it was brought up the last meeting, right? But if you can make Zoom work, I'd be happy to Zoom in.
Okay. Any more discussion on that, Lee? Patrice is with us now in the meeting. She jumped on a few minutes ago. Sorry, I didn't acknowledge you then. So the next item is a liquor license request, Alpaca to Apparel LLC. I was requesting a combination Class A liquor license and beer license for the property here at 2340 Mill Road for the months of May and June. We have received a completed application and requested a fire inspection be done. All of the fees have been collected and the notice has been published in the newspaper. So unless you have any questions,
I have a question about,
Hold on, Denise raised her hand.
I'm sorry.
So in the board report, it states that liquor and beer sales for off-premise consumption.
yes.
But if you look at the map and in his wording, he says outside in the front.
I don't know if that means that he's setting up outdoor sale, like an outdoor table for not concessions, but what am I trying to say? Like, you know how in the summer people put their stuff, their wares out on their front porch?
No, but I know what you're talking about.
Okay, I can't think of the word I'm trying to say. So we can deny that premise description and limit it to the
Building
interior
itself.
building, because he did want a tavern license, and I told him he couldn't have that. We don't have one available, nor is it appropriate for that location. He's not approved for that. So, yes, we can modify his premise description, however, it would be best suited for that location.
Well, I think we just need clarification on what the front portion of the property excluding the parking lot means.
So
That's
this-
what he has in terms of premise description where he intends to serve.
Yeah, I don't think he should be selling from his front yard.
No,
I don't know if that's what he means, but he's asking for off premise, so he's trying to just sell packaged goods to leave his property.
Well, he initially wanted on-premise sales so that
Yeah.
people could sit down and have drink. I told him, no, that will not happen. So yes, it will work as a retail location, like a grocery store. Come in, buy it, take it to go. But
So
he,
that's why I think nothing in the front of the building is appropriate. It's,
he doesn't say building either. It says the front portion of the property. Property can be outside and whatever, but
so they do have the ability to offer those free samples with that retail. No, am I thinking this wrong? No. We can modify his premise description to limit it strictly to the interior of the building, if that's what the board is.
that's the only way I will approve it.
Well, keep in mind that says though, where it's not. It says that's where, the beverages are produced, sold, stored, or consumed and related records are kept. So it doesn't necessarily mean he's selling product from those locations.
But it gives them the opportunity to sell them from the front. From outside.
Can we modify? So he can keep his records there, but we could modify it to say no sales from those areas.
I don't know why he would keep his records outside.
Well,
Well, what if you were to walk in, buy a little single serving bottle of wine, and then you walk out and you're looking at the alpacas and you're drinking the wine in the front grass area? Maybe that's what he meant, because it says, or where it's being consumed. That doesn't mean he can go out and sell it to you outside or serve it to you outside.
But you're also not supposed to be able to drink it on premise legally.
It's like, his license is the same as Denise's kind of, right? You
Okay.
buy something, a six pack and
You
you
have to
go with
take it
it,
away.
you can take it away.
So we couldn't like put a table outside and
No.
somebody goes.
I mean,
and
I've
sits
cracked
and
a beer
waits.
open at Burroughs before and I haven't been arrested.
Clearly,
I don't, that's actually.
Denise does not know, I'm just gonna
That's not-
presume
But
that.
I will the next time I go there.
Maybe say like not to be consumed.
No, yeah, he's
No
basically
front
like a
yard.
retail outlet and, yeah, if you don't want him to have six packs for sale out in his front lawn, then you, I guess, that's fine, but. Yeah.
No one else does, so I mean, it's just.
It's also the
Whatever
law.
it says, do it.
Well, I doubt, does it have to be in a building to sell, because your property's your property, right? You could,
No, I'm talking about how you consume it.
how you consuming for sure, but selling it out front, if it's in a six pack and he wants to do it, I mean, we could say no, but I don't think we can stop him. I don't think it's, because again, your license covers your property, mine covers my property, it doesn't just cover the buildings. So in general, in the state's always supportive of covering your property. It might be different in package. You would know more about that.
I don't, it doesn't cover my whole property, it covers my structure.
See, I foresee him putting something out during Fall Fest outside.
That's
Yeah, is that a
different.
different permit?
It's a
Sell
different
outside.
permit.
But he has to be licensed as part of his liquor license to be able to sell in those premises. So
Right.
if he doesn't have a liquor license, which says he can have alcohol outside, he can't put anything outside during.
That's
Fall
right,
Fest.
you're right, you can't, because
So-
we went through that about 4 or 5 years ago with somebody else, you're right. Yeah, it's true,
I mean, however you would,
he does
you
not
would
have the right kind of license. for
like
that.
it modified to grant him a license is what he'll have to follow.
You could just say not to be consumed or sold out in the yard area except on festival days or something.
You can't,
I think we just remove his wording under, part A 19, also the front portion of the property excluding the parking lot. We remove that and approve the license.
Is that a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Bertle,
second,
second by Housen, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
and this is a question that probably goes to plan, because I think this goes back to their original development agreement or whatever, but if you go to page, hold on, 50, which is it's a rendering of the building and the lots. I think this could be the very first one that was done that the Strakas did. I don't know if this is the first one or the one that he did. But if you look at the bottom of it, it says, this is the line that goes north-south, and it's right next to, David Castor's building. It says landscape driveway border and property line. There is no landscaping there. So, except for a couple of dead bushes. So if anybody wants to talk to them about that,
Julie has.
that would be good. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so we've talked to the new owner now?
It was a result of litigation with the previous owner.
All right, on to 8C then, liquor license for Sabor.
So, is that how you pronounce that? Savor Barbecue Company, is moving into the shop at 10635 North Bay Shore Drive, Unit F, which was formerly Crane's Kitchen. They are also seeking a liquor license for the months of May and June. They are asking for a Class B beer and a Class C wine license. They do have a lease which covers the entire term of the license request, they don't own the property. They have on-premise dining as well as takeout service there at that restaurant. The seating is as it was under the previous property owner, and there's a drawing of that in the packet.
Did Cranes have beer and wine?
He did.
Favor? Opposed, motion carries. Okay, report.
I'm sorry, I will waste a little bit of the board's time. I didn't have time to call Vlad my questions today. Are we supposed to pay for the post office trash?
Yes, we talked about it one time and I did research that. So what happens is because the parks and events are also all putting their trash in there together, we're paying for the dumpster service there.
Do the guys haul the trash away for a bit?
No, people are still throwing stuff in the dumpster
Well,
and then,
that's
like I
really-
said, with the, when they're doing work at the parks, they're putting stuff in there as well.
Okay,
So it's not, that dumpster isn't just used by the post office, which is
Okay.
why we're paying for that.
all right. Page 62, Shout Technologies annual website maintenance, $1,000.
So the
What are we
marina,
paying them?
The
Oh, that's the marina?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. And then page 65, town web design, website hosting and design, almost $4,400. That's what we're paying them
annually.
annually. And yet we still don't have a redesigned website and it's been a year now,
Well, we
getting
never-
rid of the cartoonish
There's a new
that's
picture
fine.
up there, but it's.
AI. Now, I know that there's the new picture that Tom
There's
said
another
or
new-
somebody, but it's still all the background, all the font. It's childish. It's not professional.
It's just the navigation's really hard too. It's hard to find stuff. Just is. And Town Web has done 3 other municipalities.
And ours looks the worst out of
It's
all
not
of
so
them.
much it looks, their navigation is different. It's easier. I don't know why exactly, but. They did
Perhaps we
Bailey's,
should-
they did Sturge.
We should put this on as an agenda item and discuss. And I don't think there's a committee that's dealing with it at this point.
Well, I was told whenever we had this done a year ago or whatever, that staff at one point in time would be able to make a lot of corrections. Staff's a little busy.
Sure.
I don't even know if we have the permission to do that anymore.
We had talked about it at a meeting and I know we were gonna get photos from an outside source. We finally, this winter I contacted Destination Door County and I got photos, so we could start changing the photos on it. There was conversation about people not liking the font. There were some board members who said they really liked it. And it was a discussion, but there was no direction that came out of that. We just knew some members didn't like it and some members liked it.
There was no concrete direction to go with.
There really wasn't, from a design perspective, there wasn't.
Not as a board. I mean,
Granted, because staff said once they got access to it or whatever, that they could make some changes and.
I don't know if we can change the font on it. I mean, we could pay them to go in and change all the font on it. Cause the
Right.
font is in the titles. That's the part that I think some people don't like. It's not the actual text that staff can, I mean, staff can change the text, which is in normal font, but it's the titles, I think that some people didn't
Well,
like that.
I think we should have somebody look at it, because if we have a calendar on the homepage and it only shows 2 meetings, and if there's more, then you have to click on it, and then you have to click on it again. And then I can't remember if you have to click on it again to see everything. That's a bad design if you can't fit all your meetings, that somebody that can just pull up the homepage, look at the website, no, there's 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings today, this is where they are, this is the time. That's bad design. They did a horrible job.
So I know we went with them because they help a lot of units of government, especially small ones. They received a lot of awards for it. They were within our budget. I will say, you know, if somebody would want to take on the project of going out and redoing that, I don't think staff would object to that.
Well,
It's just
I think
that-
it should be an agenda item and some committee should
Okay.
be designated to have those conversations on what we do with it.
We can, the thing I would say is we need to just be clear with staff, because I think it's really challenging when we say we don't like it, make it something we like. That's
It's really,
really hard.
well, I think when you when you put together a committee like this, they need to be empowered. And they need to, any time that, like at the SBAA, when we redid the website. We did the website, we took it to the board took a look, gave us a little bit of input. We finished it, done.
Right, because we didn't even have a beta test.
Well, we certainly need, but I'm even talking about the aesthetics and the nav and stuff like that, so. Because everybody's got of course, everybody has an opinion, everybody should, right? So I would suggest that whomever this committee is would also take on the task of creating a newsletter.
Well, let's,
So, I think.
Sounds
so
like
let's
ours.
make sure that we're not making the committee here. I think that we do need to slow down and not put that any, we have to think about staff load on here too.
No, I don't mean, I think outside of staff, you know, so a committee amongst the board members. Denise is right.
Okay,
Or a standing committee, if,
I mean, we had
There's an
communication and
appropriate-
technology in the past and it was, you know, that was 3 years ago, we removed that committee. Maybe it makes sense as long as it's not a monthly meeting committee.
Honestly, the mission this time, I mean, it should be. I've collected a couple different newsletters that I like, just that are right here. And there's a little thing called Canva, and you can create a newsletter, like,
So let's look at a communication and technology committee, because I think there's other things that you brought up before the meeting that would be good for that. Let's look at that and bring this, perhaps
Yeah.
defer to them. But also, if we do a committee, like you say, it's trustees. Or maybe we're gonna bring in the public, you know, stakeholders, but let's not drag staff into another meeting they have to go to. Okay. More questions on the appropriations.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
In the amount of $2,199,458.48.
Second,
Motion by Berto, second by Champeau. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Staff reports.
The staff reports were the ones that were in the parks packet, and they were just forwarded, included in the board packet.
Questions, comments? Committee reports. I want to do this a little differently because we spend a lot of time on committee reports. I'd like to have it be, we're just asking questions about these committees. We don't need to get a report from everybody. Presume everybody's read the packet. So ad hoc admin building committee review. Any questions on that? Local bylaws.
Yes. I had a question on page 7, although I think Janelle is the one that attends, so I don't know that anybody here will have the answer. Under item number 7, correspondence, Miller received some information from the electric car folks. Who is that?
I do not know
Find out.
who the electric car folks are.
this will be touring the state and hope there are enough charging stations, so maybe it's a group.
I'm a little worried that it's that vague. If you can read between my words.
Good to know we're still working on a coloring book.
And they have some left over from last year too, so.
Historical Society? Okay. Library Commission, there weren't minutes in there, but. Any Marina Committee?
We're meeting tomorrow, and, we're still back and forth with, the Boathouse folks and Historical
Hold on.
Society on
Let's
Wednesday.
people ask questions. You don't need to report if there's any question.
Any questions?
Yes, page 14. Line 12, Schmelzer indicated that she will scan that document and send the digital file to them.
Yeah, we didn't get it yet.
Okay.
I didn't get it yet.
Are you talking from parks?
Yeah,
Yep, it's on my desk.
there's 2 letters.
And I'll just finish the minutes
Thank you.
Thursday.
Okay. Personnel? Okay. Plan Commission?
Oh, yeah, personnel, I had a question.
Okay.
Page 23, the March 31st. You called the meeting to order at 2:02. It doesn't say what time you left.
That's because I wrote it and I forgot. So I will amend that, and that agenda we talked about, we finished up the employee handbook. And then talked about the job description for the admin. Have to go back and amend it. Less than an hour, but I can do it.
Plan Commission? Questions? Okay, SBA, it's tomorrow. zone,
Meets tomorrow,
Yeah.
meets Thursday, sorry, for the full board.
okay. Motion to approve committee reports, motion by Bertle, second by Hart, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Item 11, matter to be placed on future agenda referred to committee official or employee. I assume that letter will go to utilities, isn't it? Like being dealt with?
Maybe that letter, that was submitted with Nick Devley's letter, right?
Which letter are you referring to?
From the DNR when,
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, so that was part of that, okay, so that was,
all of that was part of the.
okay, that's what you're,
correspondence.
I got it.
Yeah, that was dated 2024.
I was a little confused by that, but I saw it in there and that makes sense now.
So that was all handled.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was good, but.
Okay, so then we need to have another meeting here, either 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. We've got a number of items to deal with in closed session. We've got committee appointments for coming year. So I'm looking at a special meeting on the 29th and 29th, the 6th, or the 13th, the sooner the better. The other thing I want to have is I want Randy to come here, something we've done in the past, but it's been quite some time. And that's to talk to the trustees, especially the new trustees, but I don't think I don't think you've ever had Randy come in here and talk to you about some of the responsibilities of being a trustee and some of the things you need to be aware of.
So you're
So
talking the 29th of April?
until I'm asking
Okay.
for a date, I would prefer the 29th or the 6th. The 29th preferably, because then we don't impact committee meetings for May.
I'm good with any of them.
That's fine with me too, Nate.
I think I have something on the 29th, but I won't know until I get back home. I think I just scheduled something today, as a matter of fact.
Okay, and when would we want to do that? I mean, do we want to try and do it a little earlier? Would it 4 o'clock and,
Well, Denise has something on the 29th. Do we do?
or do we want to wait till we hear what yours is and see if we can?
But I don't want to, if everybody else can make it,
Yeah.
please do not. But, you might miss something riveting that I might want to say, Chad.
That's why I signed back up for this.
Okay. So how's everybody else at that, on the 29th? I mean, do we want to try and just do it at 6 o'clock? I mean, I'd rather let,
How big of a thing you got going on? You have a
I
date?
cannot
She does-
remember.
Date. What day?
the Tuesday.
No, it's not a date.
Then why don't we say the 29th and maybe Denise can
Maybe
get back to you.
in the afternoon.
Afternoon
Yeah,
may work.
afternoon.
If you have something in the evening, we can,
Okay, what time?
We're gonna.
I think we're gonna wait to see.
Okay.
Can
Since
you
we're
email
all-
me tonight, tomorrow? And
I will text you the moment that I get home. Who knows, maybe it was May 29th. Is there a May 29th?
there it is.
Yeah, there is, there's 29 days.
30 days.
Yeah, but
29th, everything but February.
Everybody but February's got at least 29,
Okay,
except some years.
so we've got that. Anything else? Okay. Julie, how should I handle this? I'm recusing myself from this executive session, so do I even vote to go into executive session or I just leave right now?
I think you would just leave right now and then we would, Heidi would take over the promotions and the seconds.
Okay. I'm going to do that. Let's take a few moment recess while I get out of here.
But no, we don't want to.
The agenda item reads, consider a motion to convene into executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851G to confer with legal counsel whom either orally or in writing will advise the village board on strategy to be adopted with respect to current or likely litigation regarding the broadband contract. Would anyone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Berto, second by Knappel, roll call vote.
Berto, yes.
Conver, yes.
Harp, yes.
Shampoo, yes.
White. And then we are in closed session. At 7:56, would anyone like to make a motion to reconvene into open?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hausen, second by Berto, roll call vote, please.
Allison, yes. So I said yes here.
Harp, yes.
White, yeah.
Shampoo, yes.
Oh, yes.
All right. Will there be any motions coming up closed?
So, what was discussed was a motion to amend the Bertram contract to accept the phasing plan that was presented. To ask them to pay our attorney fees to amend the contract. And to pay the cost to provide fiber internet to the new parks maintenance building, the administration building, both existing and proposed. And that, cost that would be paid would be deducted from the final bill.
Anyone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Motion by Hosen,
Second.
second by Knapko, all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
Any other business to be discussed?
I'm gonna, I guess nothing for. Did you make a note on anything for future? I don't think I had anything for.
You did talk about that briefly before you went into.
Do we have to bring Nate back in or did you leave?
We talked about that in open before I went into closed. Okay.
At 7:57, would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Knapko, second by Harp, all in favor?
Aye.
Is adjourned.